Hey humans, welcome to another Too Much to Type now. First of all, I am outside getting a little air. We have a heat wave. I wanted to get out and get, a little bit of sun before it gets too muggy. So there are little noises in the background. My apologies. Now, I wanted to get into the India Arie comments about Young Miami's new hit single Spin That. But before I do that, I wanted to so before we get into that, I would like to prerequisite this by saying that I'm a bit of an outlier. I'm a sociologist who studies pop culture, but I also am an artist. I do poetry, I do music, visual arts when I can. So I'm a little bit all over the place when it comes to topics like this because I definitely see all sides of it. So yeah, there's that. Now, let's get into the comments that India Arie made about Young Miami. And I definitely have some commentary on it, so here we go. She said the mass acceptance of this song itself is a crystal clear sign of a bigger problem. I finally realized that not everybody wants to be free, and it was a very rude awakening. And she went on to say, I finally realized that not everybody wants to get free. And it was a very, very, very rude awakening, shaking my head. Because the mass acceptance of this song is a crystal clear sign of a much bigger truth. Thank you, India. Now, first of all, I'm going to start by saying that she's not wrong, guys. I know that everybody thinks, oh, it's just a song, it's just music. But if you've been paying attention to, especially my TikTok as of late, I do quite a bit of lyrical analysis. And the reason that I do that is because I want to get people to at least start to consider the messages that they're consuming based on the music and media that they favor, right? So she's not wrong. And, is scammer culture, is boosting culture a problem? It depends on who you ask, right? But what I can say is that this song has been played for everyone. There are kids who are listening to it. There was that mother-daughter on TikTok who ended up putting up a TikTok to the song and then ended up getting caught for stealing designer bags. So yeah, obviously there's a problem. But what I wanted to get into is the fact that I don't think that we will ever get to a point where art is 100% positive, nor do I think we're supposed to, because art is supposed to reflect society. It's not just supposed to be something that is done to, make us feel all warm and fuzzy. Art is actually supposed to both draw its fans and its critiques. So the fact that there is so much backlash to this song kind of means that Young Miami has done her job, right? She has reflected an aspect of society that people are uncomfortable with, and that is why people are coming out and calling for boycotts and things of that nature, right? But at the same time, I do think that it's a tad heavy-handed to request that, we demonetize her platform. And at the end of the day, right, this is a rap song. And I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention to the culture of rap and hip hop, but it has been overly negative for quite some time. And I'm not trying to do whataboutism, but all I'm saying is if we're going to clean up rap and hip hop, I definitely would not begin with Young Miami. I'm sorry. Yes, she made a song that many people are upset about, but again, this reflects where we are in society. If the song did not resonate with anyone, then it would not be taking off the way it is. And it is also catchy. That is part of music, so that is part of the reason why. But let's be honest. There is an entire culture of scammers and boosters, but that's by design, right? If you know anything about capitalism, then you already know that innately in its design, it mandates that some people are unemployed and dishonest and thieves and fraudsters, etc. Because if you create a society where it's 100% employment rate, that gives the working class too much power, which is the opposite of what they want. So they have to keep us on the fringes of, well, if you don't do this, you could end up like everybody else, right? And then that is where you get to the cutthroat culture of those who don't care, and they're just trying to work around the system because they either feel like they have tried to play fair and they weren't given a fair shake, or they just feel like, it doesn't favor them. They feel like, hey, I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be born into this position, and I'm going to try to find a way out of it by any means. Now, that's where the judge and jury comes in when we decide, if people who commit crimes are guilty or not. But outside of that, who am I to judge and tell somebody whatever lifestyle they have taken to isn't, where they're supposed to be at a time? We all have our journeys, right? And at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure there are some who probably boost their entire lifetimes and scam their entire lifetimes. But I'm also sure that there are those who evolve to a point where they're like, you know what, I'm going to do something else with my life, because regardless of how I feel about this system, I'm also tired of putting myself at risk. So I'm going to stop doing it, right? And I feel like everybody is allowed to be on their own journey. When it comes to music and the power of repetition and the power of suggestion and the power of assumption and all the things, right? The power of the tongue, right? I feel like where our energy is best spent is focusing on the youth. Now, I do agree that parents should be spending extra time explaining the messages that kids are ingesting and why they shouldn't just be taking them at face value, and why they shouldn't take it as like an anthem, and why they shouldn't necessarily take everything as a positive just because it's catchy, right? And I feel like that those are the people who we need to be spending our time on. Like, have a conversation. If you have children who listen to this type of music, have conversations with them and tell them I understand it's catchy and that you like the song and you think it's cool, but understand that there are implications behind this if you do this in real life, right? Because when it comes to this type of thing, it's usually a just symptom of what is actually going on. Like I said, again, you don't get spin that from nowhere. You get that from the fact that this thing is already going on. So it's like, are you mad at somebody making art, or are you mad at the behavior? Because if you're mad at the behavior, then other things I believe need to be addressed in order to make it so people don't feel like that is their only option to be able to survive in a capitalistic society. And even when it comes to spin that, right, I believe that she would have ended up on the I Love Booster soundtrack, which is actually an anti-capitalism movie about boosting, right? And this thing could have gone a whole nother way. But I mean, speaking of even that, right, people were mad at Boots Riley for making that movie, even though he's calling out like the system as a whole. People decided that, oh, he's promoting boosting, and that I can't get behind that. So they were even trying to, maybe boycott his movie, or, get people to not go see his movie, So it's like, where do you draw the line when it comes to boycotting art, right? So I said all that to say India Arie isn't wrong, like I said, but I do feel that, art can either be medicine or a mirror. And in this case, it's a mirror to what society is. And like, are you mad at the mirror, or are you mad at society? Right? So it's like, when it comes to demonetizing a Black woman's platform, I personally could never call for that, especially when it's something to do with art, because again, she's just making art, and it might be true that she's guilty of not considering the implications of a song like hers going viral, but she's not like nobody. Sure, like I said, children need to be, told that these are not the messages that they want to follow, but adults, there's no adult that just woke up and heard that song and said, you know what, I'm going to turn to a life of crime. The adults who like this song are the adults who are already involved in this type of thing. And having a little anthem is not going to change anything for them, right? Me personally, I compartmentalize art. I take art for what it is in a vacuum And also in context of the larger macrocosm that is the world. So if I like a song that has a negative message, I am conscious of that, and it's like I let it have its place, whether it's where I'm out and I'm dancing or whatever the case may be. But that's not something that I'm going to ride around listening to all the time. Like, I love gangster rap. Do I listen to it every day? No. But if I'm having one of those days, do I listen to it and maybe, journal, maybe walk around, release some energy? Absolutely. That's what it's for. So I said all that to say, at the end of the day, yes, I agree that we all need to be paying closer attention to the messages that are being put out en masse. But I feel like, again, Young Miami has done her job, because this is why we're talking about this right now, guys. We don't have the conversation about what's being ingested until someone does something that makes us question it. So when it comes to being art, I feel like Young Miami did what she was supposed to do. Does she deserve to be demonetized for that? No, I don't feel like that's a thing. We all still have to live, and just because you don't agree with the way someone is expressing themselves in the world around them, I mean, you're probably not from the same world, right? So it's like, it's your right to not listen to it. It's plenty of people's rights to not listen to it, and they're probably not going to listen to it. But does that mean it needs to go away because it makes people uncomfortable? I feel like that is where people are getting this wrong, and that is something that deserves a larger discourse that will not be occurring now, because I have said basically everything I needed to say. So I hope my message was clear enough, and if not, I'll probably be back to talk about something similar later. Take care, guys.